Happy International Podcasters Day.
Yay!
Hi, everyone. Happy International Podcast Day. My name is Janice Scholl.
My name is Mayra.
Hi, I'm Joanna Rawbone.
Hi, I'm Romina Cavagnola.
My name is Uzma Joffrey.
And I am Zaiba Hassan.
Hi, my name is Cris.
Hi, I'm Abile, and this is my co-host Linky.
Welcome to the My Ray of Sunshine podcast.
The host of the Flourishing Introvert Talks.
Host of the Alchemy of Alignment podcast.
We have a podcast, Momming While Muslim.
My podcast is Grounding Journey.
Together, we're Sunflower Living.
I'm the host of the Money, Career, and Motherhood podcast.
I wanted to revolve around positivity, motivate others, inspire others, and help, shed the light in many difficult situations that people face.
The podcast is primarily aimed at introverts who want to reach their full potential without pretending to be something they're not. But it's also listened to by those who want to understand introverts better, their managers, their colleagues, their friends, their loved ones.
We explore the power of stories, the beauty of transformation, the empowerment of women, and the lasting impact of creatively crafted words.
We decided to start this podcast to empower other women and other Muslim American moms in particular, so that they can be prepared for when stuff comes up for their kids, whether it's criminalization of Muslim children, Muslim men and boys, particularly entrapment, things that are specific to our community, but also things that are very general, and then the rest of the Americans have to deal with, which is domestic violence, sexual abuse, divorce, single motherhood, resources for our kids who are bullied in school. There's been studies done where 60% of Muslim American children report being bullied in school over their religion. So these are things that we want to talk about in our podcast and, again, elevate our families through it.
I decided that my podcast was going to be a way to connect with other women, because we so often, the people we know in our lives are people we met on the soccer field, we met them in car line, we met them at work, we met them at church. They're just those surface friendships, and they're not the ones where you don't feel judged, you feel like you can have a deep conversation, and you feel like it can be authentic.
A podcast that focuses mainly on mental health and our personal experiences as mental health sufferers, and how it is we go about the day-to-day of what that experience is like.
I launched this podcast because I feel so strongly about helping women, particularly mothers, improve their relationship with money, because it has such an impact on how we view ourselves, how we view our careers, and how we view our families, and even our self-worth.
For me, talking about positivity is absolutely the root of my being. That's why I'm also so excited about this podcast too, is because I want to be vulnerable. I want to show you guys that not everything is going to be perfect all the time. It's definitely my mission to help as many people as possible, because I genuinely do care.
Introverts are much misunderstood. There are so many myths and misconceptions about what introversion is. It starts in early childhood, when we think there's something wrong with the child who prefers to read quietly in the corner rather than playing noisily with others. Then on into later life, assumptions are made that we quiet ones lack ambition, aren't management material, and so it goes on. Yet we know the business world, and the world in general actually, would be a much better place if more people listened empathically. Back in the autumn of 2019, I decided to add a podcast to my suite of offerings and launched in February 2020. The pace of life, of course, was so fast, and the workplace so noisy, and people were spending so much of their time commuting. Well, COVID put paid to that. And yet my listening numbers are increasing week on week.
I was inspired to start my podcast as a platform to empower women in business to share their stories, and by doing so to start a chain reaction of inspiring other women who go on to inspire others, and so on. The other reason that I started this podcast, to create an outlet for me to share my passion for writing and content creation that comes from a place of alignment rather than feelings of frustration and anxiety and overwhelm. And that is my theme for this year, to really speak my truth and to share my voice and to spread my message.
In 2018, I was coming back from Chicago and visiting my family, and I had a rising freshman, and he essentially got pulled and pulled at the airport security and racially profiled for his last name being Hassan, and the fact that he does not necessarily look like me. He looks more like his father and is a little bit more beautifully complected is how I like to call it. But he got a little bit targeted, and I had never been in a situation like that. And traveling with 4 kids, I felt a little nervous and stressed out as to what it is that I should have or could have done differently. I found that there wasn't anything really out there specifically geared towards American Muslims that identify strictly as American Muslims, meaning our parents came here as the immigrant generation. We were born and raised here, and our kids are even further removed from any other country affiliation or allegiance. So in my quest in not finding anything, I call my childhood friend, Dr. Uzma Jaffrey, and I'm like, do you have any resources?
So it's a very different experience depending on, obviously, physical markers. It's not always name-based, and Zaiba's always had a very Muslim name, but she's never been racially profiled at the airport. She's never been strip searched at the airport, so she doesn't know what that's like. Me, all of the above. So, there are experiences that we can share, but there are still a lot of experiences that we don't.
Realized that one of the things for me is my sister lives across the country. I'm in North Carolina. She's in California. My best friend of 20 plus years used to live 5 minutes away, and a couple years ago she moved 2.5 hours away, and she has small children. So it's really hard for us to connect. It's hard for my sister and I to connect because of 3-hour time differences and work and everything else. And I really realized how much I miss those conversations with women. I just started joining groups that were spiritual groups, that were women groups. And I started interacting with those people in the groups, and then started inviting them to have conversations with me. And I'll tell you, I've had some of the best conversations with women I've met through Facebook. We connect for an hour on a podcast call. One of the girls, who was actually the first person I interviewed, who I didn't know ahead of time, and I became buddies. Like, we text, we have conversations. And what's really fun is those texts are like the conversations. It's, hey, I read this book. Have you read this theory? What do you think about that? And so while it may even be a text conversation, it's deeper than, hey, how's the weather? And so that's been really fun.
When we started out, we really just wanted to have a conversation about mental health and how we've lived with it for a really long time. And we're also using our platform now to allow other people to speak about their experiences and to share really their stories, because I think everyone has a different story. They have something unique that we can learn from. And that's really our focus right now.
I picked the medium of podcasting because as a time-strapped mother myself, I don't have a lot of time to read and take courses on personal development. But as mothers, it's so important that we continue to grow and develop ourselves, not just our families. The medium of podcasting allowed me as a time-strapped mom to turn mundane tasks like driving and dishwashing into something that I actually look forward to, because I get to learn and I get to engage with my favorite podcasts while I'm doing those things. And I really wanted to bring that opportunity to other mothers wherever they are, whatever they're doing.
See it more than just podcasting. Truly. Like, I see it more than just talking to people and giving them advice. It's more than just helping people. It's about inspiring people. I think it's also about making that difference that people need to have in their lives. Just making a shift in their perspectives and making them feel more confident, and just like having them know their worth.
The best piece of advice I could offer someone who's wanting to start a podcast is to learn as much as you can from those who really know. They need to care about your podcast and care about you. I look back at some of my early episodes and I cringe listening to them. But as a great mentor of mine says, Done is better than perfect. And that's so true.
What really stands out to me is the element of story and just how powerful that is in expressing your truth and sharing your message.
One of the things that we want people to know about podcasting is it takes a long time. This is hard work. I wish somebody had told us how hard this was, but it turned out we had to outsource quite a bit because, this can be a full-time job. So that for me was the unexpected part of this podcasting journey, was the amount of work that it takes to produce good content and to have relevant content and get it out to your audiences. Zaiba, what would you say is going to be, what was the most surprising thing about podcasting to you?
That it would be fun. And I feel like if you, despite the work, like it's one of those things where if something is work and drains you emotionally, it feels like work. But if you put in the effort and it elevates how you feel and how you think and changes your viewpoint in a lot of ways, because we've had conversations with amazing people and learned from them on this journey, that in doing that work, it's not that hard or difficult. So my advice to people would specifically be find something you feel passionate in talking about. And in doing that, the work and all the things and the accolades and the growth will come naturally because people will really feel your passion behind the mic.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Because I went in like all serious and like, oh, we have to like inform, like I'm some kind of a newscaster. And Zaiba was like, you're not making this fun. It's supposed to be fun.
And I literally said, I'm not doing this. If this is how it's going to be boring. I'm not going to listen to it. And I want it to be relevant. We have to show our personalities. And in doing that, I feel like you can really engage the audience. You can really, connect with the audience, because Uzma and I specifically, our duo works because we have two different personality types, and some people resonate with her and she's very informational. I've learned so much and grow from her, and I'm more of the happy-go-lucky, go with the flow person, and it's okay. We could have different personality types because you are attracting different types of audiences. And as long as, you again do what you love and talk about what you really want to talk about and the content is good, I think it'll grow.
I think the thing that I would tell somebody who is starting a podcast is give yourself grace. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. It's going to evolve. It's going to get better. You're going to understand your message the more you do it, but you can sit there and write it and think about it and talk about it. But until you actually start doing it and you start interacting with people and you start doing the actual foot to the pavement part of the podcast, it's not going to evolve and it's not going to grow and it's not going to become better. So get out there, just get started. My first 3 recordings, I re-recorded the first 2 guests. Well, my first guest I loved. My second and third guest I ended up re-recording. So you always have that option. Just because you record one and it was an off day for you, or you and the guest didn't totally connect as well, doesn't mean you have to publish it. That's why it's not Facebook Live, it's a podcast. And just really enjoy it. It's a journey to get there. It's a journey to get better and to discover your why, your purpose, your conversation, all that stuff. And I promise on episode 1 is going to be way different than episode 50, because you're going to evolve, you're going to get better, but you're not going to get to episode 50 if you don't ever start with episode 1.
If you're a new podcaster starting out, just do your thing and don't expect the end to be what the beginning was.
Our platform, like we said, is mental health, and a lot of the time people don't understand how multifaceted that is. And so when we started, we thought, we can stick to a certain template, and it changed along the way. And when we started out, we also thought we didn't have as much to say as we do. And so I think we allowed it to grow organically, and we remembered that it was more important for us to be authentic and vulnerable versus to try and be scripted. And so that's something I would suggest for anyone starting out. And I think it's so critical to understand that this is a platform for change, and that a lot of people access podcasts, and that we need to be responsible with the way that we share content.
And I think as we go forward and grow together, not just as, personal friends, but also with our audience, that, more people will be encouraged to speak about the different stigmas that they come across in their lives, as well as just knowing that it is okay to feel alone, but it's also vital to not just give up on life as a whole.
You can feel really like you're, just in a silo, and it's so important to feel connected. And that's what podcasts allow. It allows us to speak across continents, across the world, to different people with different backgrounds. And that's really great for us, because we sometimes think that it's just about the space that we're in, but it's so much bigger as well.
Exactly.
If you're someone who's thinking about launching a podcast, the best advice I'd give you is get started and be patient. It doesn't have to be perfect overnight. You will make dramatic improvements in just a period of months. Pick one thing each month that you want to improve upon and focus hard on that one activity. That way you don't get stuck in focusing on all the things and then fixing none of the things. Pick one, work hard on it, watch yourself improve, and congratulate yourself at the end of that month. And the next month, pick the next challenge. I wish you luck and happiness and peace between your family and your finances.
I'm really excited to be participating in this collaboration for International Podcast Day, and I look forward to seeing you over on Anchor if my message resonates with you. Have an amazing day.
That is us, and we sure hope you tune in to a Mommy One Muslim podcast.
So I hope that you'll check me out. Thanks so much, and I hope that your journey is a great one.
I also hope that you feel like, you can come to me for advice, and that you feel like you know me, and that you know the core of this whole podcast that you're listening to or watching. Bye!